Hi, 20. Welcome to blood clotting. Today we are going to learn about the different parts that are included in how our blood clots to the surface. For example, if you get a cut, how do you know you understood this? Is you should be able to use the words thrombin, prothrombin, fibrinogen, fibrin, platelets, and clotting, as well as be able to diagram the clotting process. So blood clotting uses platelets. So just as a reminder, platelets are a fragment of cells that form through the bone. They're the tiny little pieces that are mixed in with your plasma. When you have a blood clot, when I say blood clot, I mean on the surface of your skin. So when you've cut yourself and you're now getting a scab. What's happening is a cascade of enzymes are catalyzed in this reaction that trigger platelets to come and go to the site of damaged tissues. So anywhere you see a bolded word, please add that into your notes. The picture I have here is just showing you guys, so someone cut themselves here. So we're releasing some red blood cells. So you're bleeding essentially. What happens is our platelets are triggered to come to the surface of the damaged skin. And when they do, they activate a whole cascade that causes this right here to happen, which is essentially the clotting or the blocking of the damage onto the skin tissue. So you have a flowchart, just some boxes in your notes. If you could add these words in, and I'm going to explain them as we go through. But essentially there's prothrombin, thrombin, fibrinogen, and fibrin. So fibrin is the threads that wind around what we're going to call the platelet plug. Platelet plug is essentially what's going to stop red blood cells from escaping. And they are kind of like the framework or the foundation that helps form that clot. The reason why when you cut yourself and you have a scab and it looks red is because as you are bleeding, the platelets are trying to catch and stop red blood cells from escaping. So there's red blood cells mixed in there, and that's why the clot appears red. So just below this chart here, this has been filled in now. We're going to say, it says draw the process of blood clotting. So that's what we're going to do here. So first you're going to need a vessel, specifically capillary. Down here, we got some body cells. Inside our capillary, we have blood with red blood cells and platelets. We're going to start this process off by cutting ourselves and releasing blood out of the capillary. So step one in blood clotting, so you want to do this in steps, is the platelets are exposed to body tissues after the blood vessel is severed. So this is your first picture with your first step that you're going to put in the draw the process of blood clotting. I would maybe watch this all the way through and then go back and pause it and draw the pictures. So again, here's my capillary, my body cells, my blood. Now we have to have something else occur. In the second part of this process, the platelets signal each other to start moving towards the opening to start forming a clot. So it looks like that. So you can see that the platelets have kind of blocked the hole that was there. During this time, we need to reinforce this clot. So what we're going to do is we're going to make like a big net with something called fibrin. In order to do so, we have to break down something called fibrinogen, which is a more stiff structure. And we need to break it down into fibrin. So this is fibrinogen, and this is fibrin. How do we go from fibrinogen to fibrin so that we can make a nice long fibrin thread? Okay, so this is the stuff that's going to intertwine around the platelets that form the temporary clot. You do not need to draw this. I'm just explaining what we are using. So this is where we have that catalyzed reaction. So this is the chart you've already drawn. Essentially prothrombin, so write down step 3 though in your picture. Prothrombin turns into thrombin, removing the calcium ions. So this is the little flow chart you've already drawn. This is just it in picture form. It looks like that. When this happens, the thrombin removes the cap of the fibrinogen to now expose its sticky ends. So again, you can write this in the process of blood clotting, but you don't have to draw it because you've already drawn it somewhere else. So here's thrombin. It now takes that off of fibrinogen And now fibrin can start making its fibrin thread. So now this fibrin thread is going to take itself and wind itself around the platelets. And when it does that, it helps reinforce that clot by creating this little meshy net. And that is what it looks like if we were to look at it up close. The white parts are the platelets, the red blood cells, and then fibrin sticking all around it. So in your notes, you should have 5 steps. Go back to those 5 steps so that I can help you make sure you understand what you're putting in your notes. Okay. Step 1, you drew this picture. Here's your picture drawn with step 1 written beside it. Step 2 would be this picture with step 2 written beside it. Step 3 is nothing to do with this, nothing about this. This is step 3. You can just write step 3 down. You already have this process written above in the flowchart. So you can just write step 3 down, no picture needed. And you can write just step 4 down, no picture needed. And I would draw the last picture with step 5 and all of the fibrin intertwined. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope this has explained blood clotting a little bit. If you have questions, please let me know.